Hello students. In this session we will discuss in detail about Hadoop project. So in the previous session we have already discussed about the programming concept called as MapReduce, and along with that we have discussed about the Hadoop project also, which utilizes the programming concept called as MapReduce. So we will see little more details regarding the Hadoop project. So what is Hadoop? Hadoop is a top level Apache project. So it is part of Apache software foundation, and this is actually written in the language Java, and it is also an open source implementation for the programming concept called as MapReduce. So the major component of Hadoop is the implementation of MapReduce, which is written in the language Java. So it is also a computing environment that is built on the top of all the distributed clustered file system that is used for a very large scale data related operations. So normally we are using Hadoop with MapReduce concept for the processing of a very large parallel or distributed large scale data processing purposes. Also it is designed to scan through a huge large amount of data sets that produce results in a very highly scalable way, and also it is distributed among different batch processing systems. So Hadoop is also utilized for dealing with a very huge amount of data, especially with big data, and produce results from those high ranges of data. Now it is the methodology that is followed in Hadoop is built around function to data model. So we are applying several functions to the larger data sets that are distributed over different sites. The key component of Hadoop is redundancy. So when we are having a distributed architecture, we are having the redundant data that is to be stored in different nodes that are part of the distributed architecture. So redundancy means data is stored in multiple places across all the clusters, and it runs the different portions of programs in various servers in the entire cluster system. So sometimes the hardware may fail, one of the node may fail but due to the redundancy feature, it will be having a fault tolerance capability. That means if one node fails, then also the system will be continuing its functionality by assigning the task to some other nodes. The strength of Hadoop includes built-in fault tolerance, and also it will have fault compensation capability. Another feature is scalable. That means it can reliably store and process more amount of data, like petabytes, or more amount of data can be processed by using the Hadoop architecture. And it is also economical in the sense that the data and processing across clusters of commonly available computers, which are generally stored in a different remote locations. So we don't need to have a larger system that is consolidated and placed in a single place, but it is wherever that system is available, it can be kept there, and we don't need to move those machines from one location to another location. It is also efficient in the sense that by distributing the data, it can process in parallel on different nodes where the corresponding data is located. So we can execute, or we can utilize this in a more efficient way. Similarly, another feature is reliable. It is reliable. That means it maintains, or it automatically maintains different copies of multiple number of data, and it redeploys the task based on the failures. Then we will see the different components of Hadoop architecture. Generally, there are two parts for Hadoop. One is called as a file system and second one is called as a programming paradigm. So generally Hadoop consists of two parts. One part will be the file system and second part will be the programming paradigm. And a Hadoop project is comprised of three different portions. One is called as HDFS, that is Hadoop Distributed File System, which is an important portion. Second one is the programming paradigm, that is Hadoop MapReduce model. And third one is the Hadoop Common, which is the portion of Hadoop that is used for some common operations. So there will be a distributed file system and there will be a programming paradigm called as MapReduce, and there will be an area where we can have some common operations possible with Hadoop. So this is the overall architecture of Hadoop, in which we are having mainly two layers. One is the HDFS distributed file system layer and second one is the MapReduce layer. So in the HDFS layer we are having a name node that maintains the names, domain names and other description of data where a particular data is stored. All the descriptions are stored in this name node, which is part of HDFS layer and which is pointed to the different machines in the cluster where the data is residing, and they are called as data nodes. Okay, so HDFS layer consists of name node that is pointing to the different data nodes present in different machines. Similarly, in the second layer, that is MapReduce layer, which consists of a major portion that is called as task tracker and job tracker. So job tracker is the major element similar to the name node present in HDFS layer. So job tracker will track the task which is running on different machines. So different task tracker will be there with each of the nodes, and the job tracker will be assigning different tasks to different nodes. That means it will be given to task tracker, and the task tracker will be tracking the different tasks that is running on different nodes, and job tracker function is to assign the task to different nodes. So if you say all together, HDFS maintains the data related activities like maintaining the description of all the data present in different nodes, that is called as name node, which is connected to different data nodes of various nodes, different machines. Similarly, MapReduce consists of job tracker, which is connected to different task trackers of various nodes. Now we will see in detail about distributed file system, that is HDFS. So the data in the Hadoop cluster is actually divided into a number of smaller pieces called as blocks. So in the entire Hadoop cluster will be having different nodes, and the data is broken down into different pieces called as blocks, and these blocks are actually distributed throughout the entire cluster. Then we are applying the second major programming paradigm called as MapReduce, in which we are having two functions, map and reduce, and they are being executed on all of these blocks that are being distributed, and because of that it will be providing scalability. So scalability is an important need for the processing of big data. Okay, so overall Hadoop cluster entire architecture, the data is divided into different blocks and they are distributed over different machines or nodes present in the cluster. So we can process more data, that means more scalability. That is actually the major feature of big data processing. Then another property of HDFS is its data locality. That means it uses commonly available servers in a very large cluster. Data locality means the data that is stored on a local machine itself, that data will be processed. So for high performance, the MapReduce tried to assign workloads to these local servers. That is why it is called as, or the feature is called as data locality. Now another advantage of this HDFS is replication. It divides the data into different blocks, as I have already mentioned, and also we will have different copies of these blocks that are stored in even some other servers also. That is called as replication. The same block will be repeated on several servers. For example, an individual file is stored as smaller blocks. It is divided into a number of blocks and they are being replicated across multiple number of servers in the entire cluster architecture. Similarly, redundancy is also a feature which offers multiple benefits. So redundancy is another feature of HDFS where we will be having higher availability, and also that means the data will be available as we are having multiple copies are available. So the redundancy is actually occurred due to the replication. Similarly, it will break the function into different the task into different number of units. Also, it will run the job in all the servers in the cluster for better availability. And also it is having the data locality when at any moment if the data is present in a particular node where the task will also be assigned. So this is the structure where we are mentioning the redundancy. That means the same block of data is being replicated. So you can see here, to achieve availability as components fails, the HDFS replicates the blocks onto different number of servers also. You can see these are different racks where different blocks are stored in different nodes. So you can see block 3 is actually being processed here, but block 3 is also replicated here, as well as within the same rack in another rack, or it is stored as a different it is stored in a different location as a replicated format. Similarly, you can see block 1 is here replicated here, as well as it is also replicated here also. Similarly, block 2 is replicated over different blocks or in various racks. That is part of the different nodes present in the cluster. So this is the HDFS architecture in an overall format. So as you have seen in the HDFS area, that means file system architecture, we are having two main components. One is the name node and second one is the data node. So name node is actually connected to different data nodes. Data nodes are part of the different nodes, that is different portions of the entire cluster. So as you know, HDFS is divided into name node and data node. So name node maintains all the description of data, like where the data is stored, and data node is dealing with the accessing of the data on each of the machine. So name node will be collected to or connected to different data nodes present in different machines. So as in this picture you can see, the name node, we are having the same data is being replicated and assigned to different data nodes that are present in various locations. Similarly, you can see the name node is associated with a backup node for keeping those description as a backup, so that if any failure happens to the name node, the same can be referred to the backup node. So HDFS, we are having a name node, and from the name node the data will be replicated or referred to different data nodes that are corresponding to the different cluster nodes. So the main components in HDFS architectures are actually name node, data node and backup node. I have already mentioned that. So name node is a special server which manages the data placement logic, where the data to be stored in a cluster machine. It also keeps track of all the data files in the HDFS architecture, and the information is stored in memory as a quick response times to storage manipulation or reading the request. And the name node should be robust than all other the servers, because which is the major portion where the distribution of tasks to various nodes are being assigned. So the name node machine must be more robust than all other servers present in the Hadoop cluster. Now the functions of data node, it stores the data in the local system, local file system, and also it sends periodical reports to the existing blocks in the name node from which it is being referred. Similarly, backup nodes stores the regular backup of the cluster metadata that is stored in the name node. It will avoid the permanent loss of cluster data if any data loss occurs. So I have already explained on these. So the architecture of HDFS is very important. The two nodes like name node in detail and also data node in details, what are the functions and how it is being assigned in the HDFS architecture. So developer does not need to have deal with the concept of name node where the data is or where the data is being stored. So when we fire a Hadoop job, it will actually directly contact to the name node. Then through the name node, it will find the server that holds the data that is actually to be processed, and it will send an application to the corresponding node. Similarly, when we create a file, it automatically communicates with the name node to allocate, and it will perform the replication of data on different nodes. So Hadoop will be executing in two different ways. First of all, when we start the job, it will start communicating with name node and will refer to the corresponding server for the execution. Similarly, when a new data to be stored, it will be communicated with the name node, and name node will allocate the data to different locations in the form of replication. Now MapReduce is the heart of Hadoop, as we were mentioning. It is a programming paradigm that provides the scalability for the operations of big data through this Hadoop architecture. So it will have two different tasks. One is called as the map task and second one is called as reduce task. So what is the function of map? It will convert a set of data into another set of data. A larger data set will be converted into another set of data. There the individual elements are divided into a different number of tuples with a key and a value pair combination. So larger data set is being divided into a number of tuples with key value pairs. That is the task of map. And the task of reduce is it takes the output from the map function as the input, and it will combine these tuples from various servers and to form a smaller set of tuples. So reducer will reduce the number of tuples from all the tuples received from various map function. So reduce job is always performed after the operation of map job. So in the Hadoop cluster, we will see how this MapReduce will be working. So in MapReduce program, a program that in Hadoop cluster, a MapReduce program can be referred to as a job, and the task that is being divided, a job is being divided into a number of tasks. So job is divided into a number of tasks. Now an application submits a job to a specific node in Hadoop cluster, which is called as a job tracker. In the initial diagram of Hadoop, you have seen the job tracker, and this job tracker will communicate with the name node to find out where the data required for that particular job. Then it will break the job into map and reduce task, and it will execute as I was mentioning in the previous slide. So all the tasks are scheduled on the nodes where the data actually being existing. So that is why it is called as, it is having the quality or feature called as data locality. So job tracker maintains the data locality when assigned tasks to the nodes. In Hadoop cluster, a set of continually running daemons referred to as task tracker. So in the MapReduce area, we are having another agent or component called as task tracker, which will monitor the status of all the tasks that is assigned to each of the nodes. Now if a task fails to complete its task, the status of that failure is reported to the job tracker, and it will be rescheduled to some other node that is present in the cluster. So this is the entire process of MapReduce as part of the Hadoop. That means this is the huge amount of data that is actually being stored in different nodes, and every set of data will be given to the map function, and map function will be applying some operation on that. So here it is given like parse hash, that is hash operation. Based on that, it will be converted that, and it will be given into the reduce function for further reduction of the data that is received through the map function. So larger data will be converted into another format using map, and that will be further converted into another format using reduce function. Now the third portion of Hadoop is the Hadoop common components. Other than these HDFS and MapReduce, we are having some common components. Some common operations can be executed as part of Hadoop. One is the command interface, that is for communicating with the system by using shell commands, just like DOS commands. Here we are using, or Linux commands, we are using some shell commands for communicating with the HDFS architecture. So some of the commands that are used as part of Hadoop common are: cat is a command which reads the file in HDFS and displays the content of the file in the output console. Another command is chmod, that is, it changes the access permissions of file system objects. And one more example command is chon, which is used for changing the owner of the system. So these are some of the example organizations that utilizes Hadoop architecture for performing the analysis of big data, like A9.com of Amazon, which is used to build Amazon's product search indices. It processes millions of sessions daily for analytics. Also, it is using both Java as well as streaming APIs. The clusters are actually around or varying between 1 to 100 nodes for A9.com, which is part of Amazon. Similarly, Yahoo, we can see more than 1 lakh CPUs in around 20,000 computers that is running Hadoop, which is the biggest cluster with 2000 nodes. That means 2 into 4 CPU boxes with 4 TB of disk storage. That is the capacity of Yahoo that utilizes big data analytics. Then another system is AOL, that is used for a variety of things ranging from statistics generation to running more advanced algorithms. Then Facebook is another organization. Similarly, Ford's system, then University of Lincoln. All these are actually following the Hadoop system for managing or manipulating the big data. So in this session we have seen the Hadoop system, Hadoop project itself, and the structure of Hadoop with 3 components, that is HDFS, MapReduce and Hadoop common. We have seen the details of HDFS, the architecture of HDFS, the function of HDFS, the components of HDFS in detail. Then we have seen the MapReduce, which is the program paradigm used in Hadoop, where we are using MapReduce function, the execution or the way in which we can do MapReduce function. Then finally we have seen the Hadoop common, that is the different commands used for performing some other tasks related to the Hadoop system. And also we have seen some of the organizations that follows Hadoop architecture for managing or maintaining big data operations. So that's it for that is all about big data. Thank you.